The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program, and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it is Wednesday. And we missed you guys on Monday. And Football Foot is in the studio.
Thanks a lot.
on his scooter. He's even quicker on that scooter than he is on his normal feet. So don't try to chase CJ down. He's quick on that scooter he's got there.
Oh.
On one-legged scooter.
Yeah, well, they remembered me in the recovery room. They said, "Are you going to do your show now? Because you got plenty of time. It's not 11 o'clock yet."
Well, we're glad everything went well, and
of course, everybody knew me. They love to watch our show.
Yeah.
They're just not happy that it's not on at 11 o'clock anymore because they're in the hospital and they can watch it.
Everybody knows our name. It may not we may not be cheers. In some cases, we're jeers, but they have to watch us. They're addicted. Let's get right to one of our favorite topics.
Taxes!
Taxes and more taxes. And again, Robert DeLeo,
who was very brief in his comments about taxes.
Always.
Just give it to me. Just give it to me.
Warns of further tax hikes amid federal spending cuts. Did you notice this is the same DeLeo that got a massive increase in his stipend for being speaker?
Yes.
The same DeLeo that gave himself a pay raise?
Yes.
The same politicians that passed a law that they can give themselves a pay raise. They don't have to go ask their boss, who by our Constitution is us, by the way. So these people, you know, this is the reason that a lot of people are leaving Massachusetts. I know a lot of people are retired. They went to Texas. They went to North Carolina. They went to Florida. They went out to the Southwest in Arizona or Nevada. You know, this state is just ridiculous. We give them all free Narcan. Give all the people who don't work, well, like Ocasio-Cortez. Give people who don't want to work a paycheck too. Just give everybody everything, and
She's a socialist.
And break the back of the taxpayer.
Yeah.
You know, and by the way, he also led a push in 29 to raise the sales tax, the existing sales tax.
Correct.
So there's a guy who never saw a tax he didn't like.
He also rallied for the indexing of the gas tax.
Of course. With one of our favorite people.
Right. Which makes the gas tax go up regularly based upon the consumer price index.
Listen, and they love those kind of things.
Right, that's right, because they never have to touch them again.
Because now when it goes up, people complain, but they don't blame them. They forget that they put this in.
That's right.
And that's what just like their pay raises. You know, you and I can remember the Halloween massacre.
Yep.
When they had a special session to give themselves a giant pay raise, and then a half of them got booted out. And then the other half that got back in went, oh, my God, we can't have this again. I'm going to lose this beautiful job that I show up a couple hours a day and I get summers off and long holiday vacations. And I can say I'm working with my constituency when I'm not doing anything, walking around. And what did they do? The light went on. Let's give ourselves an automatic raise.
That's right.
Let's take the people who by our Constitution that we're sworn to uphold, that we're answerable to, and eliminate from our most important function, giving ourselves pay raises.
Well, you know what would be interesting? Imagine if the voters got together and decided to classify House Representative and House Senator and the State Senate as part-time jobs, which didn't entitle them to any health benefits, any retirement benefits, and only their salary for the hours they actually work. Not for the summers that they have off, but the hours they actually work.
True, but then again, but remember, who passes those laws?
Exactly.
They do, and they're not going to do it. That's why I say you got to throw all the bums out. Remember that they also said that they're the only people who can collect their full pension
After retirement.
After retirement, if you're to an elected position.
That's right.
That's it. So they can collect. Nobody else can. Everybody else talks about you're crucifying people. They don't want it. But the only people that get to abuse the system, and they talk about the system, are the politicians themselves. Because look at what they did. They complain all the time, yet they allowed themselves to get it. But they'll go out and complain about the retirement system, but they allow themselves to get the full check. And who else gets it? Politically connected people.
Of course.
We covered on this show the police chief of Braintree, whose mayor, of course, he was buddies with, and whose mayor filed special legislation to allow him to retire with full 80% of his $140,000 or $150,000 salary, then come back as the police chief at the same salary,
right.
Full pay, and he doesn't have any consequences, but he collects his full retirement. And the irony of that, to refresh your memories, this is a mayor that the governor put on a task force for pension reform. So he'll reform your pension. People who go to work for 40 years and work for peanuts and get a pension that if they live too long, they'll barely be able to exist. But these people who are making 150 grand get to make their 150 grand and they're 80% 150 grand when they're retired. And them and the politicians, because look, we know what politicians do. They sell you a bill of goods, you believe it, you haven't figured out yet you have to get rid of them. And then they lie all the time. And if they lie enough, you're either dumb enough or you feel that you can't do anything about it, you don't vote. Let's remember one of my favorites, Ocasio-Cortez. What did she, now she's all over the news. She said that the 22nd Amendment was passed, and she said it, I saw the video, to stop Franklin Roosevelt from being reelected. There's only one problem with that scenario. When that was proposed, and by the time it became part of our Constitution, Franklin Roosevelt had been dead for 2 years when it was introduced in 47, and at 51, when it finally got finalized, he'd have been dead for 6 years. So he couldn't run for office. And what always amazes me about the 22nd Amendment, now that I'm talking about it, is that they passed term limits for a president. Why didn't they pass term limits for themselves? Why don't we have term limits on everybody? Because you know something? That's the only way I guess we'll ever get a government that is responsive to the people, because we got people walking around this country watching this circus we got going on in Washington about Mueller's report and about all this other baloney, and they're not doing the business of taking care of the people in this country. You know, everything is partisan politics, and we allow them to do it, and we let Cortez and Omar and all the rest of these people rant about divisive issues and call everybody who disagrees with them a racist, but they're not racist. So, you know, look at the Democratic Party. They didn't want Bernie Sanders because they wanted Hillary. Now they're trying to get rid of the old guy, the old white guy.
Yep. Let's
get rid of Biden. We're going to come up with something, and we're going to, and on the national news, who were the first two people to condemn him? He should be answerable for these things. Elizabeth Warren, the one who's supposed to be an Indian.
Right.
And the other one was another candidate for president. I think it may have been Cory Booker. I may be wrong on that one, because it just goes, when they show their pusses on TV, I just shut my ears shut off, because I know it's going to be political. Nobody says he's entitled to due process.
You know, and that's
he has become the Democratic equivalent of the Supreme Court nominee. Now, because he's one of their opponents, it's like, okay, he's guilty. He should be answerable for this. Let's make this a campaign. They don't want the old white guy. That's not their base anymore. They want the Ocasio-Cortezes and the Kamala Harrises and all the rest of them that have got all these. They want to unify all these groups that they intentionally divided into a voting block to get them in. So they don't want the old white guy to run. It's that simple. I don't care. It's my opinion. You can say that's being a little jaded or any other thing you can say. I'm not being racist. It's just a fact. They don't want one of the old guard running because they're afraid that the old guard, who, by the way, I think is leading in the polls. They got to get rid of him. 22%. So they don't want guys like that running. They want some of their liberal left whack jobs. That's who they want as a candidate.
And the worst part about it is Joe Biden hasn't even declared his candidacy yet.
That's right. Oh, wait till he declares. he might be responsible for the bombing at Pearl Harbor.
Yeah,
He's a double agent. I don't know because
it's getting to be ridiculous.
Well, look, the Democratic Party's ridiculous. Remember, there are still people that actually are part of that party, and they've gotten worse since 16. But they have what I call political amnesia. They only remember that great opening, one of the opening lines of that great Simon and Garfunkel song, "The Boxer." A man hears what he wants to hear and disregards the rest.
Yeah.
You know, and this is what the Democrats do. They forgot that their own party basically gave them the barota and said, we don't care if you want Bernie, our super delegates are going to get Hillary in there.
That's right.
And they not only stayed in their party, they got nuttier over the last 2 years. They've gotten absolutely nuttier. So, I mean, look, can I have any sympathy for that? No, I can't. I mean, it's just total, absolute, you know, naivete and ignorance because, I mean, you can't figure out that your party, who your party is pandering to, and they don't want him in, just like they didn't want Bernie in, and they're going to do the same thing to Bernie, and you know, we'll see what happens. But the only good thing is this comedy show that we call politics in this country now is at least sometimes it's kind of a love-hate relationship. You love to hate it, but it's actually when you sit down and have a couple of stiff ones, it's actually funny. It's nauseating funny, but it's funny.
They're the Demotax party.
yeah, the Demotax. Yeah, well, let's look at our house. We're second only to, I believe, New York for taxes. You know, New York's got, and we look at the cost of living in this state and everything else, and we see the disparity, and then we forget that. Did we ever have a Republican-dominated House?
Never.
Senate?
Well,
I don't think.
Long before our time.
Well, yeah. Before, when those parties really didn't make a difference, they actually voted for the person.
Yeah.
Because Abraham Lincoln and Teddy Roosevelt were Republicans and were great presidents. I mean, people talk about Republicans being anti-environment. The greatest president we ever had as an environmentalist was Teddy Roosevelt. He established the national park system.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, but it's just, look, it's a circus. But we're off. But it's, again, the ire and anger it raises in me staying angry every time we see a headline like this clown who just got his, what did he go up to, 80 grand for a stipend? Or is that the Senate president? He went to 60. House went up to, I think they both went 80, and then he cut his to 60.
Something like that.
60,000 as a stipend. Well, you know, he should come to Fall River. We love stipends here, too.
Yeah.
But 60 for a stipend plus a pay raise. Now he wants to raise our taxes.
He's getting like $250,000 a year.
But they elect him.
Right.
They elect him. You know why? He's got the power. They say, let's elect our tax man. He doesn't care how much they tax. But we can get anything we want in our district because he's the boss.
Well, and the funny part about it is, let's think back a few votes ago, a few months ago, when the speaker voted one way, and the House followed it, and then when the speaker changed his vote, the House changed their vote. That's not representation of the people. That's representation of the speaker.
Of course.
And our delegates did the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Our delegates did the exact same thing. And now, and I don't care if you're for or against family planning, abortion, whatever the case may be, the federal government has always said you cannot use federal, cancer screenings, and that's not what it's about. But now the state has passed legislation, just like many other states have done, to protect Roe v. Wade for abortions. So they've now passed legislation for that. We live in a predominantly Catholic state. And I'm going to take that side of the argument right now. We live in a predominantly Catholic state. Did my mic go out?
No, I can
you hear
still
me?
hear. I can still hear you out here, CJ. I don't know if your mic may be
I
inside
wonder
the
what
studio,
I can't hear anything.
but you're fine.
Can you hear me?
Oh, absolutely. It's nice and clear.
Oh, there it is. Now I can hear you.
Okay.
Okay. I was like, all of a sudden the mic just went dead.
Yeah, no, I was hearing you
Okay.
perfectly.
Like I said, we live in a predominantly Catholic state, and abortion or support of abortion is grounds for excommunication. Now, we have in our own delegation a person who actually speaks on the altar at the church regularly. Has he voted for this abortion right bill? Not that I'm for or against abortion. I'm just being very clear on this. How can you vote your conscience and be hypocritical? Oh, wait a minute, that's a politician.
Exactly. But as you said, regardless, it becomes, you know, it's not. It's an issue of the law, and they're upholding it, and that's their prerogative. But as you said, the thing that disturbs me is they don't vote their conscience.
That's
they
right.
don't vote on their ethical beliefs. They don't vote. They vote whatever the Speaker or the President of the Senate wants.
That's how they vote.
follow like lemmings.
Right.
Because the reality is, if you vote against him, you don't get any committees. And when you get a committee, you get a stipend.
Yep.
And you don't get it. All your bills get dumped in a trash can. Because if you piss off the Speaker or the President of the Senate, you get nothing in Boston. So when something like that happens, and people don't pay attention and don't clean that entire place out, that's why we get angry at the people sometimes, because it is our fault. We are the government. This is a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. Only, but only, if we vote and exercise our power. Exercise our power to throw these bums out. Right, remember when Tommy Finneran stopped the stadium?
Yeah.
The Speaker of the House is more powerful than the governor in the state of Massachusetts. I don't care what Charlie Baker can sit down and think he's the man, but he's not. He can't get anything done without the Speaker of the House. Because if you look at all our speakers, and the only way we can remove them is by federal indictment, normally, they're the most powerful people in the state of Massachusetts, because whatever they say goes. When was the last time a speaker's position has been voted against?
I don't remember.
The only time I've ever seen a speaker be voted against is when they were trying to get rid of him. Remember when Kavarian, they got... Time you ever see any dissension or anything that goes against the speaker is when they're trying to get rid of a speaker. And all of those people who try to get rid of it, if they're not successful, know that they're going to lose all their committees. They're going to get hammered for a while. But again, this gets back to the fact that we do not have a republic. We do not have a democracy any longer. This is a constitutional monarchy. They are the monarchs. They can go up there and do any damn thing, run roughshod over us. This guy has done nothing in his entire career but tax you. Give all your money to the people who don't want to work or want to take drugs. Protect himself and his rich friends, and screw everybody that works for an hourly wage. Yet he'll be in there, you know, until they're wheeling him in with his diapers.
Worst part about it is the Demotaxers. Demotaxers, I love that.
Yeah.
The Demotaxers all say, we're the party of the people.
Yeah.
I don't know what people they're the party of. I honestly don't know what people they're the party of, because the people don't want to pay more taxes. And everyone says, well, people don't want to pay taxes. Yes, that's true, but people know they have to. But they don't want to pay more and more taxes.
But they don't have to pay more taxes.
That's right.
If we run our government properly.
We don't, though.
There are states with no sales tax. They run.
That's right.
There are states that are actually fiscally prudent. We did a thing on this show about Montana. I don't have my briefcase with me that's got those facts in it, but I can kind of paraphrase, and it'll be on. The state of Montana was $100,000 or something.
No, it's more than that.
Oh yeah, well, it was like, I don't know, maybe $1 million in the hole for their health care system, and they turned it over to this woman who was working, in a state office, and she was near retirement, and they said, well, see what you can do. She went out And she started looking, and she found that they were charging from anywhere from 100 to 600% more than the national average in certain hospitals.
Right.
She went out and renegotiated everything. And even though she was paying more than the national average, within 2 years, they had a $100 million surplus.
Imagine that.
Because it's, you know, Massachusetts will say, look what we do for you. You're not doing anything for us. You're paying. You're not paying. We're paying. Well, you say you do things for us, but you do things that as a taxpayer, that's not where I want my taxes. You give me a lean government, you provide me my essential services, and then you bring back to the voter when you want to do things. Look, I don't do things that I can't afford in my house. I can't go out and buy a Lamborghini.
Oh, you can't.
As much as I would like to have a car like that and drive up and down the street and you know, and
not in Fall River streets.
and then spend like you know, $100,000 for a tune-up or something like that. But look, you have to be realistic. You can't live in a 25-room, 16-bathroom mansion because you live in Fall River and your average income is $22,000. We got an article here about millennials whining in Cambridge because they can't afford a house. They can only afford a $500,000 house. They could buy 3 or 4 houses down here for that price.
Yeah.
And the reality is that the average price in Cambridge, because it's an affluent area, is $1.6 million. So they're complaining that the millennials, they don't want to move away from mommy and daddy. They want to buy a house and stay near them, but they can't afford it. They only got a $500,000. How many people out there watching that got a $500,000 they can spare?
Not me.
Not me either.
Not me.
But the reality is, this goes to show their attitude. Our representatives and our senators do not care. And what you forget to realize is everything they do, you pay for. I don't want my tax dollars to be paying for certain things. And most of the people in the state don't. But it still gets done. Why? Because they do not care a damn thing about what you want. They do whatever they want. They get the pay raises they want. They get the stipends they want. And then at election time, they give you a chow mein sandwich and you put them back in. So shame on you.
Election by chow mein.
That's right. Chow mein.
That's how they should do the ballots, honestly. Forget about the elections. As many chow mein sandwiches as the guy gives away, he's the guy that gets the office.
We should actually rate the politicians by chow mein sandwiches.
That's right.
Guy's got a rating of 4.5 chow mein sandwiches.
And Leo's got a rating of 5, so you better be careful. Hey, Representative Markey is ripping the FCC rules seen as a threat to community access television. And that's important to us.
Yes,
because we're on community access television.
We wouldn't be here without
And what they want to do to community access television, they want to take it out of the licensing agreements. And if they take it out of the licensing agreements, there'll be no funding left for community access television. So your television stations like Channel 18, which is government television, I think it's Channel 9, which is educational television, and Channel 95, which is here, FRC Media, which is your community access television, will be gone. So you need to call your House and your Senate, your U.S. House, your U.S. Senators. You need to let them know that you want to keep community access television. A lot of people did. But the FCC wants to get this passed.
Well, please call your useless legislators and let them. They might do something about this because it's not going to cost them
a dime.
Any of their pay raise, and it's not anything that's controversial. But Melinda Garfield, president of the Community Access TV Organization, Massachusetts, said proposed change would be devastating. She said Massachusetts has the highest concentration of community media centers in the country. You know, you get to watch your city council meetings, all the various board meetings and stuff, and you can stay abreast, especially some of the older people that can't really get out or in inclement weather. And that's really good. I mean, it's, you know, we always complain that you don't educate yourself. And one of the best ways you have to educate yourself is take advantage of community access television, because it's there for you. And it's there for you and you want it to stay there for you. So pick up the phone, call your useless rep, tell them to do something about this, because it is terrible. And as we're running out of time, we've got, again, Fall River, again, the place they want to have everything that,
We're safe. We're safe in Fall River, aren't we?
Fight over money allegedly leads to a stabbing, suspect sought.
Another stabbing.
Well, I guess gun control's working. So far, the stabbings are outweighing the guns by about...
Oh, we've got a couple of minutes here. Measles is now in Massachusetts. I guess they've had 4 cases of measles so far. In 2000, we eradicated measles in the United States. Until you morons out there who thinks vaccinations are going to cause autism of your children, because it doesn't do that. That's fake reporting, but you buy it all, are now not vaccinating their children. And what's happening is they've brought back measles. And they say, well, my child won't get it. It's just a rash. Your child can get encephalopathy. Your child can end up blind. Your child can end up deaf. Your child can end up dead. And it happens. Yeah. Madam Secretary just had a recent show on it, on how dangerous it is. Do you know that the measles virus lasts in a room or in an area for over 2 hours after the person with it leaves? So you could walk into a bus terminal and there could have been somebody in there carrying the measles virus, and boom, you can get it. So if you haven't got your child vaccinated with the MMR, take them down to Government Center and get an MMR for them. If you need one, get one for yourself, because you need a booster after so many years. Make sure you get one, because we don't need measles, and measles as an adult is terrible.
Well, you're right, as is even adult tonsillitis. That's
Right.
That's a major surgery for an adult. It's a minor, relatively minor one. But while we're on the subject, another issue I believe that contributes to this that were eradicated 100 years ago,
Right.
popping up all over the world because of these migrations from countries where they're not vaccinated, and these diseases are still present. You know, bubonic plague is fundamentally eradicated, but it still exists in certain parts of the world. I had to get a plague shot once when I was in the military, because I was going to an area where the plague was there. And you have to get shots for many things. When my daughter just went down to Ecuador, she had to get a shot for a disease that's been quote-unquote eradicated in the United States. But this is another issue. You can't ask them for their driver's license, you can't ask them for proof of citizenship, and they won't ask them if they've been immunized. So that's another danger that's out there from this stuff. So stay angry, and remember, your House of Representatives is working vigorously to raise your taxes. Call up Mr. DeLeo and thank him for his concern in picking your pocket.
Send him a chocolate cake. Have a great day. We'll see you on Friday.